Thank you, and thank you once again. From wherever it is in the world you are joining us from, I want to say welcome to you. Um, it's going to be a wonderful time, as usual, an exciting time as we'll navigate the discussions as usual in our practice. We're going to be having conversations around facility management, and it promises to be good. So this is an avenue for you to tell your friends, to tell another friends, to mention to another friends that we are live and we are about starting. And as a matter of fact, we've started. So let them join in and let them be part and parcel of this wonderful edition of our real estate today. Before we go into it, and be part of this webinar, you can put in your question in the chat box. You can also indicate by raising of your hand if you want us to call you so that you can make one or two comments. You'll be given the privilege. The back end will look into this and they'll give you the opportunity to ask one or two questions if you so desire. And so please, you could use the chat box. You could also send a message immediately as the program commences. So let's get to it quickly. And so last month, the month of August, we had a wonderful and a beautiful edition. And that edition was handled by one of our in-house experts, Mr. Biodun Oyenuga, who spoke on optimizing real estate rental income. That was for the month of August. And so for this month of September, we're going to be having an expert, an in-house expert, who's also going to be speaking to us. And I tell you, the topic we're dealing with today is something that you want to sit back, grab a cup of coffee and listen in, because this topic is going to do you good. Not just do you good, it's going to do your practice good. And for investors in the real estate, hey, this is something you should listen to. So this September edition of Real Estate Today webinar will be handled by no other person by our in-house expert, Mr. Kingsley Okpara. Mr. Kingsley Okpara is the head of facility management in our Victoria Island office, and he's going to be speaking to us on the topic, the crucial role of facility managers in optimizing workplace efficiency. Let me tell you a bit about Mr. Kingsley Okpara. Mr. Kingsley Okpara, so that you just prepare yourself, because the truth is, you are in for a wonderful ride. Mr. Kingsley Okpara, like I said, serves as the head of facility management at the Victoria Island office branch of Ubosele & Co. His responsibility over there includes overseeing the maintenance and operational aspect of corporate and commercial properties managed by the company. As a facility management expert, Mr. Kingsley ensures that the workplace are not only functional, but optimized for efficiency, helping businesses achieve a higher level of productivity. Mr. Kingsley has deep understanding both in technical and strategic elements of facility management. It focuses on improving systems related to safety, maintenance, energy management, and sustainability. I can go on and on and on and talk about Mr. Kingsley Okpara, but the good thing is that Mr. Kingsley himself is here and is ready to dish it out to us. And again, before we commence, before he takes over from me, I also want to remind you once again, as we commence immediately, please tell your friends that we've started. Tell them to call somebody else, that we are live. And please don't forget to drop in your questions. And if you have comments to make, please do signify by raising up of your hands. And we're going to get the back end to invite you at the appropriate time. It's over to you, Mr. Kingsley. Good to have you. You're welcome, sir.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. Sanjo. Yeah, I welcome everyone to today's edition, the September edition of Real Estate Today, proudly organized by Ubosele & Co. And like Mr. Sanjo rightly said, we shall be discussing the topic that says the crucial role of facility managers in real estate in optimizing the workplace efficiency. Permit me to share my slide as we flow along this discussion. So our focus today we shall be looking at the crucial role of facility managers, the pivotal role we play in shaping the organizational success by optimizing the workplace efficiency, the working environment. We shall also be looking at how these 4 pillars of FM, that is the people, the place, the process, and also the technology, the role they play in achieving the well-being of the business productivity and the well-being of the employees. And also, we shall also look at the 11 competencies of facility managers, how they help organization to achieve success. For us to go deep into this discussion, I would like us to have an overview of what the real estate surveyors and valuers profession is all about. We are trained in the art and science of providing the following services: estate agency, asset valuation and advisory services, property management services, financial and audit services, as well as facility management services. But today, we shall be looking at just a segment of the services we provide, which is the facility management services, and the role we play in optimizing the workplace efficiency. Permit me to explain to us what facility management is all about. It is an organizational function which integrates people, places, and processes within the working environment with the purpose of improving the quality of life of the people and also the productivity of the business environment, the core business. So by this definition, you understand that facility management is a profession that encompasses multiple disciplines. And for us to, over time, before now, facility management has been passive. We've been running a passive support service. But along the line, today, facility managers has evolved to be a strategic business function in the organizational environment. And for us to carry out these services, we should understand that facility management has now become the cornerstone of optimizing the workplace efficiency by ensuring safety and also augmenting the overall business productivity. Now, for us to efficiently carry out these services, we need to classify the type of services we carry out as a facility manager. One, we call it the hard services. The hard services, and secondly, is the soft services. Now, for us to carry out these two services, we need a blend of the managerial and technical skill. And for the hard services, for those who don't understand what hard services is all about, hard services refers to the non-movable physical assets which are essential to the business. And for these services include the physical structure itself, the plumbing system, the HVAC system. By HVAC, I mean the heating and the air conditioning unit system, the elevators, the fire safety system, the lighting system, the electrical systems. All these systems that form the component of the facility you're managing are referred to as the hard services. Now, the soft services here, we are talking about services, the management of people, the management of the organizational landscape, those catering services carried out within the organization to ensure that the working environment is conducive and pleasant. An example of such services, we are referring to like I said, the catering services, the security services, the health services, the waste management services. Likewise, the space planning and the pest control. These are the services carried out by facility manager within the working environment to bring about pleasant environment, pleasant working condition for the people. And like I said earlier, it's a blend of managerial and technical skills. So we should understand that for you to efficiently function as a facility manager, you should have a blend of managerial and technical skills. The managerial skills, I'm talking about your leadership and strategic skills, your communication skills, your financial management skills, the skill to carry out project management, to handle a project, and likewise stakeholders management, because there are various interests. You making use of your facilities, how you manage those various interests matters a lot as a facility manager. And the technical skills, I'm referring to you as a facility manager, understanding the system you're building, the components of your building systems, and the maintenance plan you have in carrying out the maintenance procedures. These are technical skills to ensure you safety and compliance, and also the technology you use to integrate this process are all referred to as technical skills. Having said that, we can now delve into the role of facility management in the organization. The role of facility management in the organization, like I said earlier, it centers on 4 pillars and 11 competences. And I'll take my time to explain the 4 pillars that makes up the elements of the facility management and the 11 competences. The 4 pillars, number 1 is the people. As a facility manager, your priority is to ensure that the well-being of the people are put into consideration. And you can achieve this through effective communication and interpersonal relationship skills. People management in facility management is one of the difficult tasks among all the elements we manage in the facility. The management of the people forms one of our basic priority, because in as much as we understand that facility management is a thankless job, but you should have it in mind as a facility manager that the people form the basis for which your success are being determined. So, as a facility manager, you should ensure that your managerial skills, looking at the people that come from different cultural backgrounds, they have different systems, and you are trying to align them to a standard in a facility. You are trying to make them to understand that irrespective of where you come from, irrespective of your status, that when you come to this facility, this is the standard we are operating. And that is where you need to align the interest. And this has to do more with managerial skills. So the people management is one of the pillars. Second pillar of facility management, we are talking about the place, the working environment. How functional is the working environment? How conducive it is for people to leave their home and come into the environment and have a well-spent time in the building environment. And you know, averagely, we work at least a minimum of 8 hours. And someone spent 8 hours in a working environment. Will he go home sick because of how obsolescence the building is? So it is your duty to ensure that the building, the components of the facilities are functional, and also they are conducive for the people to achieve the goal for which they come into the working environment. And the third one, we are talking about the process. By process here, I mean the standard, that the supervisory role you play to ensure that your maintenance plan are well scheduled, to be proactive. We all know that yes, when you plan, there is always room for, we are not perfect. And when there is failure, how is the process like in addressing these issues? These are the process you need to look into. The approval process, the process that has to do with the the alignment of every component of the building to ensure that it does not affect the core business of the operation. These are the processes I'm referring to. And lastly, we are talking about technology. Technology today is the tools, the software that we use in optimizing the operations of our facilities. And also, whatever tools, whatever software you're applying, your priority is to ensure that you reduce cost, because the aim of every business is to make profit. So you look at your system, you look at your business, you look at your portfolio, and you align yourself to the tools that will suit the purpose for which you are operating. Having said this, I now go into the 11 competencies of FM. By FM, the acronym, I mean facility management, or facility managers, as the case may be. So number one is communication. Communication forms the basis for which you can manage crisis, or you can be found wanting. Issues are bound to happen. How do you communicate these issues? The feedback you get from stakeholders, how do you handle it? How do you identify your audience? The type of communication you give to a superior as a facility manager, how is it being managed to a subordinate? There is an issue in an organization. I use one of the organizations we manage as a case study. On a fateful day, we had a breakdown of the chillers. And that event, now we knew that for us to effectively manage that scenario, we have to first of all communicate with those involved in decision makings in that organization, carry them along on the issues at hand. And while we are doing that, we're also communicating with the vendors assigned to carry out the maintenance of that particular component of the building that is faulty. And when we saw that there was a delay in carrying out that task, we had to engage our technicians, our in-house technicians, because we give them some kind of training that will allow them to carry out what we call first aid treatment to any issues on site. And while we are waiting for the vendors, we are communicating with the management. At the same time, we are carrying out something we need to do on the ground. Now, in all this, we can understand that when the pump was fixed and the management were carried along, you have it at the back of your mind that you are not planning for them. You are planning with them. So communication is very important for you to achieve success as a facility manager. So you look at the delivery method of your communication skills. Then number two, we are talking about emergency preparedness and business continuity. Yes, like we call it, risk management. It means that when you make up your plans, when you put everything in place, you always have it at the back of your mind that power is very essential to an organization. If the generator fails, do you have a backup system for power? In terms of water, you can't allow it to get so bad that people have to bring water all the way from their houses into the organization because they can't trust your judgment, they can't trust your capacity as a facility manager to ensure that the issues at hand are being addressed. What are your backup system like? If there is there was a time, like a case study I want to give, there was a time we have a fire incident in one of our property that we manage. And in the middle of the night, we are called upon that there was a fire incident. And the time response it took for fire service to get to the site, if we had to wait for them, the building will go down. But we've already trained our in-house technicians on how to carry out a quick response when it comes to fire incident. And that issue was addressed in the middle of the night. Before, in fact, we had to get to the site. We had to move. As a facility manager, you should be accessible. because at that time, they need you to, they want to be sure that you are with them, and you need to show your support, not just by moral support. You have to show your presence to let them understand that you are with them in that situation. So emergency and preparedness, emergency preparedness and business continuity is a competence in facility management that we shouldn't undermine. Then number 3, we talk about the environmental stewardship and sustainability. As a facility manager, you have it in mind that you are not just managing your facility. You are also looking at the well-being of everyone that make use of the neighboring facilities around you. So your aim is to ensure that your building, your policies, those things you do within your building, you put in mind sustainability of the environment. How do you manage your waste? Those are the things you put into consideration so that they won't become hazard to the neighboring environment. Then we talk about finance and business, which is the 4th competence. By this, like I said earlier, a facility manager, they call us, we pride ourselves as the jack of all trades and master of all. And what it means is that as a facility manager, your competence lies in your teamwork. And finance and business here, I mean, you are expected to have an accounting background, and your knowledge of accounting will help you to be able to reconcile income and expenditures. You should be able to prepare service charge budgets. You should be able to give financial analysis. Clients are trusting you with their funds, and they expect you to give reports in due time. So as a facility manager, you should have that background that helps you to reconcile expenses at all times. Number 5, occupancy and human factor safety. This is one priority you should have as a facility manager. Minimize or mitigate to the barest minimum occupational hazard. So those things that will lead to a kind of occupational hazard, it is your duty to ensure safety in the working environment. Number 6, we talk about leadership and strategy. By leadership and strategy here, as a facility manager, you are expected to have a training in what we call emotional intelligence, because your emotional intelligence skills will help you to achieve success in carrying the organization along in your plan, in your portfolio, because in everything you do, it should align with the demand of the organization. It should align with their mission and their vision. So your strategy, your leadership and strategic role as a facility manager will help you to understand that for you to sell your ideas, in as much as some segment of the management might have a background, a concept that dwells on cost minimization, and everything that has to do with high cost has to be taken down. And some segment of the management team might have high stake for quality of the materials being used. Now, when you are selling your ideas, you need to have a political knowledge of how to blend with the different segments of management within an organization for them to buy into your plan, for them to understand the idea you are bringing to the table. So you as facility manager needs to have a way of resolving conflict management. Then number 7, we are talking about operations and maintenance. By operations and maintenance, I mean these are the primary role a facility manager is expected to have in order to oversee the operations of the facility. And you should have a basic knowledge of the building hard services that you maintain. because that is only when you can effectively and efficiently carry out a smooth operational maintenance in terms of your maintenance plan and everything you need to do to ensure the facility runs efficiently. Number 8, we talk about the project management competence. The project management competence talks about how you as a facility manager should be able to sequence the execution of projects, the time frame it takes, what are the things that needs to be done before another phase is entered into, how you ensure the procurement of materials are in line with the standard ordered or requested by the organization. These are the things you need to put at the back of your mind as a facility manager. Then number 10, we talk about, number 9, we talk about performance and quality. In terms of performance and quality, you as a facility manager, you have to ensure that the expectations of and the needs of the facility users are being adhered to. So you must be able to ensure that you improve the value of the facility you manage through your input and knowledge in terms of quality and performance of your operation. Then number 10, we talk about real estate and property management competence. Now, this is a competence that enables you to carry out tenant selection. This is a competence that enables you to carry out lease renewal. You are able to have a background check of those that are coming into the property you manage as a tenant. You also help the landlord, as the case may be, or the client, to conduct market comparison. These are things you do to ensure that you give a well advisory services to your clients. Then number 11, which is facility information management and technology management. This is a competence that helps you to understand what type of applications, what type of tools do I need to improve the process of my operation. And here you need to ensure that your data are well collected, and you need to look at the tools that you will use. Put in mind, the aim of every business is to make profit. So whatever you're using as a technological tools should align with the goal of the organization to achieve the same results that you need to achieve. So what, in essence, looking at these 4 pillars and the 11 competencies of facility management, we can summarize that the key objective of everything we've discussed here is to, 1, improve the quality of life of the building occupants or the facility users. And secondly, is to enhance the productivity of the core business. Having said that, we can now go into our main discussion, which is the role of facility managers in an organization. So we can understand that by all this, if all these are put in place, the facility manager can effectively create an enabling environment to reduce costs and also support productivity. And the scope of carrying out these services include for you to be able to manage the resources provided by the organization in a way that is optimum. And in summary, I would like to say that facility management services in an organization will enable the organization to focus on its core business and also to optimize productivity. In conclusion, I would like to summarize by saying that facility management is no longer a peripheral function in modern organization. Facility management is now a strategic function to organizational success. So effective facility management will help to enhance workplace productivity, employees' well-being, and evolving workplace needs. The future of facility management lies in adopting to technology technological advancement, and evolving workplace needs. So as a facility manager, you are expected to engage in continuous professional development, which is crucial to facility management profession in order to meet the challenges of the future. In essence, facility management remains integral to achieving operational excellence and ensuring conducive environment for the business growth. Thank you all.
Wow, 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 wow. Thank you so very much, Mr. Kingsley. I mean, that's so powerful. I mean, thank you so very much. I can show you my notes. I was just just taking notes, even trying to rush those notes. Thank you once again. That's for as many who on this call, I bet and I know that you can agree with me that Mr. Kingsley had actually taken us for, I mean, on a journey on what it means, what is expected, and what it is all about to ensure that as a facility manager, you optimize workplace efficiency. So we'll begin to dovetail into questions. Before I go to you directly, I still want to remind as many who have one or two questions, please don't hesitate to ask your question on the chat box. Then also, if you want to make comment, don't hesitate to raise your hand. I'm going to, from the back end, I'm going to ask that they allow you so that we can speak to it. I mean, somebody asked one question earlier on. I mean, it was saying, somebody missed the number, the out of the competence. So if you are listening, let me just read it to you. I think I noted the person talked about it missed out at number 2, number 5, and number 6. And I think the number 2 competence is emergency preparedness, according to what Mr. Kingsley told us. That's about risk management. The number 5 has to do with minimizing occupational hazard. And I think number 6 is leadership and something, but I mean, Kingsley will come back to that later on. But I know it's leadership and leadership and a particular word, just for the person who was taking notes and actually missed out on that number 2, number 5, and number 6. Mr. Kingsley, once again, thank you so very much. That was very powerful, very instructive, and very educative. So let's begin to go back before we begin to take questions from people. You did mention, while I was noting earlier on, you talked about something that has to do with hard facility management services, and you also talked about the soft facility management services. And so I want you to please share a bit of more light, because when you talk about the hard services, I want you to take that, maybe spend 1 or 2 minutes to talk about when you talk about the soft facility management services, as well as the hard services, as hard facility management services. If I may ask, and for the benefit of those who are listening, which of these services would you think, of course, it's important that we have this tool, or this tool. Which of those two will you think, from your own experience and exposure, will you say is very, very, you cannot completely shy away from? I don't know if you get what I'm talking about. Out of these two, you talk about the hard service, which has to do with the physical things and all that. And you also talk about the soft facility management services. Which of those two services, as important as both are, which out of these two will you consider very, very significant, and it's a no-no if you don't have the knowledge or the experience?
Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Sanjay, once again. These two services, they are pari passu, because you are carrying, as you're doing one, the other one also is important. And like I said, the hard services, you can't be focusing on the soft services, which talks about ensuring the building is conducive and pleasant for the people, without putting into consideration those things that will make it be pleasant for the people, which is the hard services. So as a facility manager, you need to have a blend of what the managerial and the technical skills.
Thank you very much. Okay, so now let's go back to earlier on in the course of your discussion, you talked about how people spend the minimum of 8 hours, in the workspace, and that was when you were talking about I think was it the competencies or maybe the pillars, where you did mention about how people, when they come, they want to ensure that there's safety. You don't want to come to the office space and living with maybe going back, maybe worse off than you came from where you were coming from earlier on. So let's talk about the workspace in terms of people coming into work and the safety for them as individuals. So we have organizations wherein people go into, and at the end of the day, you come back, you are challenged. There's one issue or the other, maybe as a result of not having efficiency in that workspace. Now, what would you be telling? What will you be speaking to? Not just investors now, but the owners of organizations. Okay, this is the essence of facility managers anyway. But what would you, as a professional, be speaking to the owners of organization with regards to importance of ensuring that people who come to the workspace have maximum comfort? Mr. Kinsley, are you there? Or technology is... Mr. Kinsley, I hope you're back. Oh, great, you're back. I don't know if you get my question earlier on, or do I repeat the question?
I lost you at the point. I lost
okay,
you.
good. Okay, so I was saying as a professional, as an expert that you are, what are you going to be telling owners of businesses, with respect to people who come to workspace and they go back home? They are not the 8 hours. Everybody's looking forward to just leaving the workspace immediately because of maybe not lack of the satisfaction in the workspace. You are in a hurry to go back home, just not because you don't want to do your job, but because of the facility or the services are not helping you. So what would you, as an expert, be telling owners of organization to be doing to ensure that this is taken care of?
Okay, now, thank you very much once again, Mr. Sanjo. As facility manager, you are engaging with different stakeholders, and your duty first is to understand what we call FCA, that is Facility Condition Assessment. Now, when you carry out a visual inspection of your facilities, it is your duty to ensure that these hard services are functional. Now, if they are functional, and you now look at those things that will enable the clients or the users of those facilities to work efficiently. But where you are having those issues, that is where communication comes in place. So as a facility manager, your communication skills matters a lot. How do you communicate in terms of addressing the issue with the client who is not satisfied? And how do you communicate in terms of this feedback? Does this feedback get to the management? So you are managing different interests. So your duty as a facility manager is to, first of all, ensure you put the client who is already aggrieved in the right frame of mind to understand that, yes, you are working on it. And when you can achieve that, it is now your duty to go to the management and let them know those things that needs to be addressed. How you put that on the table matters a lot as a facility manager. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. So again, before we go to a few questions that I can see here, you mentioned in your lecture, so you said something, and I laughed when you said it. Very interesting. You said facility management job is a thankless job. You say it's a thankless job, and I was like, really, that's quite somehow I was like, really, that's so people don't. So do you want to speak a bit to this, because people, I also want to think that maybe as much as you're trying to ensure that people enjoy the workspace, you are putting a lot of things into it. People ordinarily think that is your responsibility. Of course, it's your responsibility, and so it comes comes out to you, or it comes back to the facility manager as a thankless job, which again, I don't know if we're all humans. So I want to learn from your own experience, with this issue of this thankless, I mean, putting a whole lot into this facility management job, and it comes back that you give a lot, but it seems as if much of what is given, number one, is not appreciated. Number two, is not probably also seen from even the people in the industry who should know better. So, from your experience, what do you want to share with us with this issue of this thankless job, Mr. Kingsley?
You make me laugh once again. What I mean is this. You see, bad thing is easier to remember than the good things you do.
Great.
From experience, you satisfy a client for a long period of time, but just 1 minute that there is no light for him to execute a job, he forgets everything you do in the past. So as a facility manager, you should have this kind of thick skin that makes you understand that all the clients want is to solve the issue. And once you've addressed the issue, you move on. You don't expect them to always remember what you've done in the past. You always have it in mind that every new day, your job as a facility manager is to ensure the well-being of the users of the facility. So it's a thankless job once again.
It's like, thank you very much. That's a very, 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 very good response. I mean, but honestly, I couldn't but just, because I noted it, I couldn't but just think about it while you're talking about it. And that's the truth, when you do the good things, the many things that you do, most times people don't get to see them, especially when one thing goes wrong. I mean, it's people tend to forget about all of the things that were done. Now, you talked about while we were reading all those things, somebody was asking that this thing is not seeing this thing in the slide, and I was just like, only if you know that Mr. Kingsley is saying this from his head, from the, out of experience and all that. And the truth is, when you're talking about the 11 competencies. So I want to, the number, somebody did mention, I'm looking at one of the competencies. I want to talk about it. Then we now go to the question. You talked about, okay, you've mentioned communication. I was going to pick on communications, but again, you've talked about that communication. Okay, so let's talk about finance and businesses. Yeah, so you did talk about the ability to manage service charge budgets, to have this ability to report, they have the ability to reconcile expenses. Mr. Kingsley, you're not a chartered accountant now. How do you? I'm just thinking, are you not putting too much on my head as a facility manager? If I want to be a facility manager, you've talked about, those 11, you've talked about communication, talked about so many things. To add to it now, you're talking about, so all this accounting and all of that. So, it's the right thing, but do you want to educate us a little bit more on the importance of this finance and business with respect to the competencies? Born out from your own experience as an expert in this field.
Thank you once again, Mr. Sandra. Fund is one thing that as a facility manager, you should always put in mind that the ability for a client to trust you is how far you can manage the fund released to you. So it's not about who you are. It's about what they see as statement, what they see as your reconciliation in terms of handling something to you for you to manage. So accounting is one concept that as a facility manager you should have at the back of your mind, that at any point in time you are called upon, what the client wants to see are the statement you have on the table, not what you can bring out from the back of your mind. So you as a facility manager should be able to have this reconciliation process where everything is documented. And you should also work in synergy with the accounting department. How you present your issues to them in terms of priority. and how you work with them, how you flow with them matters a lot. In fact, the facility managers and the accounting department, they work in synergy. So you always, that's why they always say that we are jack of all trades, master of all, in the sense that we are not expected to know it like the accounting, like those that read accounting. But when they send you the figures, when they send you the statement, you should be able to reconcile and see that, yes, what you are getting and presenting to your client is okay or not. So that is what I mean by finance
the
business.
finance. Okay, thank you very much. I just remembered one thing also that you mentioned. We're going to go back to. I'm sure there are questions that we'll go back to, but let us have this. Let's exhaust this talking point. I just remember something too that you did mention, and I want you to probably maybe just spend another 1 minute or 2 minutes to expound it. I can't remember on that. You talked about planning with the people and not for the planning with the people and not planning for the people. I remember I noted it somewhere, but I'm just trying to look at under what. Okay, yes, that was under communication. You talked about planning for and planning with. I mean, you try to differentiate the issue with planning for and planning with. Do you want to draw? I've heard something like that before. I think in the classroom, I heard something like that where a professor was talking about the importance of planning with as against planning for. But I want you to, I mean, dive a little bit into what you mean in this concept of communication when we talked about planning with the people and planning for the people.
Okay, let me give this scenario. If the government goes to Oshodi today and plant flowers along the road, and the people are hungry, and you use so many facilities to beautify that flower, the people you are planning for will end up selling those items to address their priority need, which is to eat. Now, as facility managers, that is why I said you need the concept of emotional intelligence. Whatever you're doing, the person you are doing it for, is this something he actually needs at that time? So when you are planning for, it means you are not carrying the person you are planning along. But when you are planning with, it means the person is aligned to that vision you are going. So that is just a clear difference.
Mr. Kingsley, thank you very much. I mean, that's a great one. And honestly, like I said, okay, so let's go to the questions before I begin to talk about a few other things about, I think we've got some question here. So Dr. Charles Dixon, we can give soft copies of the documents, but not certificate of participant because this is a monthly stuff that we do. Thank you, Dr. Charles Okon. Thank you for joining us. But the soft copies can be available. Soft copies of the presentation, I mean, not the certificate of attendance, because this is a monthly thing that we do. So Mr. Kingsley, there's a question here. This person is saying, what step can we take to ensure our health and safety when we identify an issue with the property, but the facility manager disagrees with us, claiming the property is managed with tanks for the well? Okay, claiming that the property is managed. Okay, with thanks for, okay, this one is saying thanks for the well presentation, sir, and all that. So do you get that? Do you get that question?
No, it's not clear. It's not clear.
It's saying, okay, let me come again. So what step can we take to ensure our health and safety when we identify an issue with the property, but the facility manager disagree with us, claiming that the property is managed with building information modeling and no problems have occurred or will occur in the building?
You know, that is why I said, as facility manager, you need to understand that whatever software package you're using in the management of your facilities, how does it achieve the goal you are trying to achieve for the organization? Now, in line with, based on what the question said, how did they address that kind of issues that has to do with safety? First, it has to do with communication. How has this feedback been passed to the facility manager? Is he aware of those lapses that needs to be addressed? If so, what are the chains of escalation, because you might be dealing with the facility manager on ground and is not addressing the issue. Then the next response is, who is the next line of reporting? So if they are helpless where the only channel they have is the facility manager, then the point is, how was it engaged? So these are questions that cannot be answered on this platform unless we understand the scenarios leading to this question.
Thank you so very much. That's it. Thank you so much for that. This other question is saying, okay, this person is asking one question. Mr. Chris is asking, I don't know if of course, Mr. Kingsley, you mentioned it earlier on, it's a thankless job. I don't know, maybe that's why this person is asking this question. It's a most respected presenter. Please, what is the most common form of remuneration for a facility manager? Mr. Kingsley, what is the best form to remunerate a facility manager? Do you want to answer this?
It's a question that I don't know how to go about it. The best form of remuneration. I would say that as a facility manager, the pride, the fact that you are at the center of people achieving that happiness, that desire they need. It should be your priority as a professional facility manager. So if you're looking at the money aspect of it, I think there is no amount of money you pay for one to, that is why a professional is different from those who wants to just go into it and take the money and leave. So money should not be the aim, but your goal should be that people are happy managing the facility.
Thank you, Mr. Kingsley. Thank you so much. Mr. Kingsley, this way you are talking like this, it's great. So it's great. Yeah. The money is good, but I love that dimension of your response. Honestly, I do. It's all about ensuring that the people that you work for, like I always say to people, the truth is that the money will always come. The money will always come. It's just also a matter of doing the right things. And just like you've rightly pointed out also, the joy, the fact that you want to ensure that the workplace at the end of the day, and I think I also see in some places, I think I don't know, Mr. Kingsley, maybe this is part of what you said. Maybe this is, I've seen some places that you step into some premises and they write that maybe for the past 6 months on their board that there've not been any casualty. I think they take pride in the fact that there's not been any casualty or all that, and they put it there. So I think for me, that would be a joy of a facility manager. I've seen in one or two places, maybe one of those all servicing company where they say that in terms of safety in the last 12 months, while this thing was going on, there was no problem. And I believe that that's because you have a proper facility manager there, so for them to put it there, it means that there's this pride to say this organization, we've not suffered human casualty or whatever it is. Is that what it means too? Do you think, is that what it is?
It's a marketing strategy for you to boost your portfolio as a facility manager, that you're managing a facility and you're able to ensure that those competences are being adhered to and the people take pride in it. It's a joy.
All right, thank you. Let's go to other questions. Let's see. Okay, this person is also thanking you for a well presentation. Okay, thank you so much. We're grateful thank you so much for all the comments and accolades. Okay, this one is also saying, okay, so Mr. Chris is also asking this question. I'm sure you've actually answered it. Maybe you can also say one or two things. He says, as a thankless job, in what ways can we begin to reorientate the client to start seeing the values brought to the table by the facility manager or management? Did you get that, Mr. Kingsley? As a thankless job that it is, in what ways can we begin to reorientate the client to start seeing the values brought to the table by the facility manager? What do you want to say to that?
Well, I need to, from the perception of this questionnaire, I need to look at it from the background where it's coming from. When I say thankless job, I never mean that the people does not appreciate what the facility manager does. No. I'm only saying that as a facility manager, you should have this orientation that people management is something that, because you understand that the people are the most difficult aspect in terms of the pillars of FM. And you can't really satisfy the demand of all, because we have different interests. You know, as a facility manager, you should have emotional intelligence background, where in the conflict of interest, where you are trying to satisfy some parties and some parties are not being satisfied. Your aim is to ensure that your decisions are rational a day. In terms of you disconnecting services from a client who is owing, and you are trying to satisfy that client who is not owing. Have it in mind that the one who is owing, who you are disconnecting service from, will forget the past good you've done in terms of providing that services when he's still owing. But the day you disconnect, he forgets all. So your aim is what is rational, what is objective, and that should be your guiding principle to manage conflict at all times. Thank you.
Okay, but Mr. Kingsley, I agree with you. Thank you for that clarification. Very good clarification. But okay, let's even think about it. Let's just like the questionnaire asked. Let's look at it literally to say maybe you are not even as a facility manager. All these are not. It's coming from this perspective of thankless. I mean, the literal thankless. Right, just like you said, I understand the perspective you are coming from, which is to clarify to all of us about this thankless job. So let's assume that in the real sense of it, with all the effort being put into managing an investor facility, or probably being a property manager or facility manager to property, and you're not, how do we, just like he asked, for lack of, I mean, for us to just, how do we begin to reorient it? Because the truth is, the fact that you're a facility manager, I don't think that is the reason why somebody should disrespect you. All right. And that's not to say people will not disrespect you. You just mentioned the fact that somebody is being disconnected, maybe for not payment. I mean, and you have to do your work. And you're doing your work that you're doing is any you some sort of disrespect, is any you some sort of abuses and all of that. So how do we begin to reorientate? I think I want to take the positive from the question that person asked and from your own experience. And the truth is, Mr. Kingsley, I want to believe that, I mean, you must have experienced some funny or horrible, terrible experiences in doing this job. So how do we begin to reorientate people so that they also understand that you are also human? You're also coming from a place to give satisfaction to somebody. And as such, people should not be taken for granted. So do you want to say one or two things just for the sake of maybe investors who are on this place who are listening, or people who also occupiers of a facility, so that in dealing or in relating with experts like you, we treat you nicely as we should treat you, and with honor, dignity, and respect?
Yes, thank you very much, Sanjay. Mr. Sanjay, from the point you're coming from, first, as a facility manager, have it in mind that time heals the wound of the past. It means that you develop a thick skin where, fine, there are some clients who are difficult in terms of difficult, though we don't want to term them as difficult clients. And I've passed a scenario where a client has to even insult, not just me, but insult is, start insulting people and insulting families and all that. And it takes a lot of emotional intelligence. Mr. Sanjay, I don't know if you're still with me.
Yes, I'm with you.
So it takes a lot of emotional intelligence. It takes a lot of personal consolation. It takes a lot of teamwork, because there are some times that when you look at these insults and you want to react, and you look at your team, you look at the vision of where you're coming from. It's just something that some clients, when you're dealing with people, you should have it at the back of your mind that you might be pushed to the wall. In fact, in the line of your profession, you might be pushed to the wall. But at every time you are faced with such scenario, first, communication matters a lot. How you handle the communication at that point, how you are able to breathe in and breathe out to control the anger management. There's many things you need to put in. That's why emotional intelligence is always needed for a facility manager.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kingsley. I think that actually answers it, because I actually want us to, for the sake of the man who asked that question, it's important to also let, and it's a way of reorientating ourselves, because like people usually say, the worst of people come out from the society, and the best of us also come out from the society. And so we must regularly, let people know that the fact that the fact that this is the profession that they have chosen, the fact that this is what they do for a living to ensure that you are fine, does not mean that they should be treated in certain ways, And I think that's why I actually wanted us to pick, and I'm glad that you're able to answer. Yes, we'll do our job. We'll ensure that you're not doing it for any vainglory. You are doing it because the profession that you have chosen, but also people can take unnecessary advantage. And it's also important for us to also reorientate ourselves. And I want to thank that person who asked that question and also your response. Let's look at, I think there are two more questions here. Okay, so this man, Chibuzo, is asking, what is your view or comment on the paradigm or belief that facility management is not a Gen Z field? Mr. Kingsley, are you with me, right? Are you getting my question?
Yeah, I'm trying to flow with it.
Yeah, you say, what is your view of the comment on the belief that facility management is not a Gen Z field? If I may say, because young individuals do not pursue it, I might be wrong. And because of the current trend of remote work, which is greatly favored by young individuals, how do you think the industry would cope with this change? What advice do you have for young individuals hoping to start their careers in facility management without prior education in it from the university? What skills, books, steps, or resources would you recommend? Mr. Kingsley.
Today, like I started by saying that for you to function well as a facility manager, the industry, the real estate industry, the real estate surveyors and valuers provide you that best avenue for you to function well as a facility manager, because you are trained in the art and science of managing various interests as a facility manager. However, for the sake of those who cannot afford to go through that route and they want to manage facilities, I think there are various short courses to engage in to start up. And I think this is not a platform for me to promote any of those. They can go online to get those various courses to take. And gradually, but the aim for you to function well, you should look at aligning yourself to the real estate surveyors and valuers. And Ubosele by that platform. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kingsley. Yeah, that's right. Mr. Kingsley we don't want to promote anybody here. We don't want to promote them. We don't want to promote that is the truth. But that's a very instructive question. Another part of his question was that the Gen Z, that the Gen Z generation, where he's asking, a lot of people do remote job now. He's trying to say that, don't you think that industry, that aspect of our industry, because the generations, according to him, the generation that we do have now are no more tilted to this facility management. Do you see a problem in this? Do you see a gap in the future with regards to facility management based on this question that this man asked as to the Gen Z generation?
Like I said, the profession is gradually evolving and it's now moving into technology aspect of it, where we are seeing where organizations now work hybrid. They work from home, and facility management is gradually moving into space management, where you can ensure that wherever people are working from, you are able to address those things that will bring about efficiency in their delivery. And it talks about technology here. And there are so many softwares people make use of in achieving that. But I don't want to start mentioning that we have CMMS, there are so many software I don't want to mention on this platform. But these are the things people are using to integrate the process of Internet of Things, of smart buildings, and the likes, and so on. So everything is evolving. That's why I say that as facility manager, you are to engage in continuous professional development. At every point in time, have it in mind that there is need for you to learn more, and learning never stops. That is what the future holds for technology.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kingsley. Thank you so very much. This person, Chibuzo, is, I think, a full up to say, just to mention that the first question is because most young people I know in facility manager mentioned that they are either they're temporarily looking for other jobs, or some do not even apply for such position when they tell them about it. I think, okay, this person is telling you, and I think you've answered it anyway. This person is saying the reason for that is because of the experience with people where you have met. Maybe they just find themselves in this field. They don't want to, they do not see it as a profession. They just see it as a stopgap, And again, if you see it as a stopgap, definitely there will be all of these challenges like Mr. Kingsley had earlier highlighted. Let's look at other, I'm looking at, okay, this person has the question here. Okay, this can one manage? This person is asking Mr. I'm sorry, maybe Mr. or Mrs. or John Ogua, saying, can one manage more than one facility? Mr. Kingsley, with all of these things that you've reeled out and with all the expectations, is it possible to manage at every given point in time more than one facility if you have this much to do? And if you can do more than one facility, what would you, how? That's the question of this person.
Now, in the definition of facility management, I said it encompasses multiple disciplines. It means that for you to function well as a facility manager, yes, you can manage more than one facilities, but how is your team selection? Because you should be able to coordinate the various sites you are managing as a facility manager. You're not there at every point in time, but you're able to coordinate the activities through your own maintenance plan, through your line of communication. How effective is your channel of operation? So as facility manager, you can manage more than one facilities, but have it in mind that the vendors you are working with, the team you're working with, your technicians on site, they determine your success rate or your failure rate. Because when it happens, they are not calling them, they are calling you as a facility manager. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kingsley. I think about now, there's one, please, can you help the person who, I tried helping the person earlier on when the person said he missed number 2, because in your slide, these are things that you said from your own knowledge. It's not in the slide. It was that number 2, which is emergency preparedness. Number 5, minimizing operational. Number 6 is leadership and what? For the sake of the person who has that.
Okay, let me run through it again for the sake of those.
Good. Very good. Yes, please.
Number 1, I
talked
about communication. Number 2, emergency preparedness and business continuity.
Yes.
Number 3, environmental stewardship and sustainability.
Yes.
Number 4, finance and business.
Yes.
Number 5, occupancy and human factors. They call it safety.
Okay.
Number 6, we talk about leadership and strategy.
Okay, strategy, yeah.
Number 7, operation and maintenance. Number 8, project management. Number 9, performance and quality. Number 10, real estate and property management. And number 11, facility information management and technology management. That is where this comes in.
Thank you, Mr. Kingsley. I think I also have to come and do short course from Mr. Kingsley. I took, see my notes and my notes and my green pen, just have to write quite a whole lot. I mean, it's been a learning curve, and I'm not joking. I'm actually not, I'm honestly being sincere. I've actually learned a whole lot. And I want to thank you greatly for sharing out of your wealth of knowledge and experience with us. This means a whole lot, not only to me, but to everyone who is on this platform to listen to you. Thank you very much. We look forward to, this is not, of course, Mr. Kingsley, we always come back. We always come back and always come back. I mean, in recent time, it's been last week, last month it was facility, this month again was facility, and it was mind-blowing. Honestly, listening to you today, I mean, I make bold to say, I mean, you've done justice to this, and this is wonderful. This is absolutely wonderful. And thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for sharing out of your wealth of experience. We are going to be thankful about it, regardless of the fact that at times it cannot be thankless. Let me be thankful. Let me be thankful now, okay? So let me, that I know about the fact that we should be thankful about be thankful about it. So thank you, Mr. Kingsley. And for everyone who have joined us today for this edition of the webinar, I want to say a big thank you to you. Thank you for joining us. And I want to believe that it's not been a waste of time for you. You've learned a whole lot, just like I've also learned a whole lot. We look forward to seeing again. The next edition is going to be in October. We're in October. And okay, I see people thanking you, Mr. Kingsley. A lot of people are thanking you from here. Everybody is expressing their thanks and thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you
I
very
mean, we
much.
take, yes. So they are thank you, and we take all those things. So the next edition will be, I can see everybody's, is it because I'm thanking Mr. Kingsley now? Everybody is now sending all the thanks. Yes, we take them. We take them. Thank you very much. Mr. Kingsley have done absolutely very well. Thank you, Mr. Chibuzo. We can see you. Mr. Larry, thank you for that message. All these guys are saying thank you to Mr. Kingsley. Thank you very much. And Mr. Chibuzo, you're saying thank you to the moderator too. I take that. I take that. All right. So without further ado, we're just bringing this to a close, and we look forward to seeing you at the October edition of the Real Estate Today. My name is Olusanjo Fawale, and I've been your host today, and I look forward to seeing you in the coming months. God bless you, and you have the wonderful, and let the remaining days of your day be fruitful, and enjoy today. God bless you, and this webinar is brought to a close.